They vaporized a Terran colony in the dead of night. No warning. No apology. Just silence, and ashes. The Galactic Empire expected fear. But Earth sent someone else. Not a warlord. Not a general. A single woman in a black diplomatic suit walked into their council chamber, and declared the end of their empire, with nothing but her voice. The blast came without warning. One moment, Erebus 9 floated silent and bright in the shadow of a dead star, its research towers humming with quiet purpose. The next, it was gone, vaporized in a beam of violet-white energy from orbit. No sirens. No comms chatter. Just heat, light, and dust. 312 civilians dead. Scientists. Children. Her husband. Kasha Rain didn't scream when she saw the footage. She didn't cry. She stood in silence as the grainy satellite playback looped on her console, her husband's last known location outlined in red, a soft ping echoing with every rewind. A technician offered condolences. She dismissed him with a nod. Her voice was even, calm, surgical. Prep the Veiltor declaration. Full briefing package. I want it on my desk within the hour. Back on Earth, her superiors argued for restraint. The Veeler called the strike a navigation error. A probe misfire. They even sent a fruit basket. The peace of Veiltor still held, they said. Any retaliation could trigger galactic war. Earth must remain civil. Kasha didn't respond. Not at first. Instead, she requested a black diplomatic suit. She packed a single briefcase. And she departed for the Concordium capital aboard the Veritas, alone. 2 days later, she stepped into the great crystalline chamber of Veiltor, under the glare of 1,000 watching eyes. The Veeler delegation arrived in shimmering robes, their leader, High Chancellor Virex, radiating psychic calm like a damp towel over a fire. Kasha waited until the room was silent. Then she placed her briefcase on the speaking dais and opened it. From inside, a small hollow emitter activated, casting a silent projection of Erebus 9 in orbit. The delegates watched as the research station appeared, rotated, then vanished in a flash of violet white. Over and over. No sound. No commentary. Just erasure. Virex chuckled softly, lips curling like wet parchment. Ah, the Terran taste for drama. Kasha didn't blink. We're not here for drama, Chancellor. We're here for truth. Virex raised a brow. It was a tragic mistake, Ambassador Rain. We grieve with you. But surely Earth doesn't propose war over a technical error? She leaned forward. No. Earth proposes memory. The room stirred. Kasha tapped her pad, and the projection shifted, now showing internal Veeler military logs, intercepted communications, even the targeting schematic used to lock onto Erebus 9. Precise. Deliberate. Approved by Virex himself. Gasps broke the silence. Across the chamber, delegates murmured, eyes wide. The Veeler shifted uncomfortably. I see, Virex said slowly. So Earth has chosen slander. Kasha's voice sharpened. You fired first. Virex smiled coldly. Do not pretend righteousness, Terran. You came into this galaxy last. You colonized worlds with blunt hands and louder mouths. And now you accuse us, the architects of order, of treachery? We don't accuse, Kasha said. We confirm. A quiet hum rose in the air. Tension spread like frost. A Kthal diplomat adjusted his translator nervously. The Molari envoy folded his arms, eyes glimmering with new interest. Virex stepped down from his pedestal, walking slowly toward her. Earth is weak, Ambassador. A minor voice amplified by grief. You forget who built the peace you now weaponize. Kasha's voice was barely a whisper. No, Chancellor. I remember exactly who broke it. The Veeler psychic field spiked, an invisible pressure settling on the chamber. Most would have faltered. But Kasha was Sino. A human mutation, rare and deeply inconvenient for telepaths. Virex's attempts to manipulate her emotions slid off like rain on glass. He saw it. and his eyes narrowed. You refuse apology. You refuse concession. What do you seek? Accountability, she said. Laughter rippled through the Velar delegation. One ambassador whispered to another in their native tongue, something clipped and cruel. Kasha responded, in perfect Velari dialect. If I were you, I'd choose words more carefully. The translator doesn't filter cowardice. The alien blinked. Across the room, silence returned. Kasha turned to the council. Earth will not retaliate with warships. We will not send fleets. But we will respond. Every moment you protect them, we will show the galaxy what they are. Not rulers. Not diplomats. Liars with clean hands and burned worlds behind them. She turned back to Virex. You didn't just destroy a colony. You handed us a weapon sharper than any blade, truth. Virex hissed, low and venomous. You think your words can destroy empires? She leaned in, eyes like obsidian. No. But they can start the fire. She exited the dais without fanfare. No applause. Just stunned silence. Later that night, Kasha stood alone on the observation deck of the Veritas, watching the stars. She didn't mourn. Not yet. She planned. Because Earth didn't need vengeance. It needed justice. And she would deliver it. Word by word. World by world. The summons arrived coded and cold, Concordium Session Emergency, subject, Terran accusation of Galactic Treaty violation. Time immediate. Kasha Rain entered the council dome with a precision gait that wasn't theatrical, but reminded everyone she hadn't always been a diplomat. She wore the same tailored black suit as the day before. Same calm expression. But today, the galaxy watched live. 93 alien delegations shimmered in their seats. The Velar sat to the east quadrant, dressed in threadbare serenity. Their High Chancellor Virex leaned back, fingers templed, half-lidded gaze fixed on Kasha like one watches a minor disturbance in a data stream. Kasha raised a single data crystal and slotted it into the central console. The lights dimmed. The dome's ceiling lit with a projection, encrypted Velar fleet logs, previously inaccessible until yesterday. Quiet voices echoed. Target locked. Proceed with the purge. Keep Earth out of it. Blame calibration drift. Then a time-stamped firing signal. Then silence. Do you deny these are your command logs? She asked, voice sharpened to cut. Virex's smile didn't reach his eyes. You obtained this illegally. Data fabrication is a known Terran tactic. Kasha countered without pause. Cross-check hashes. This data is real. These are your orders. You didn't just attack a neutral colony. You covered it up. With diplomatic immunity. You thought we'd sit back, grieve politely, and keep our place in line. A Sirek ambassador leaned forward, his third eye blinking in visible shock. This breaches the peace of Veiltor. Intentional aggression without council notification. Virex spread his hands. The colony was inside contested space. There was Velar precedent. Kasha snapped. Then why the silence? Why scrub the targeting logs? Why lie unless you knew you crossed the line? The chamber rippled with sound. Whispers. Stirring. Delegates leaned toward translators, faces unreadable but charged. Virex exhaled with theatrical patience. Earth has always been impulsive. You were warlike before you learned to spell ambassador. You mistake righteous vengeance for diplomacy. Kasha took a slow step forward. We may be young, Chancellor. But we don't forget what was burned. And we never forgive treachery. The lights returned. The projection cut. Kasha allowed the silence to hang. Not out of drama, but because silence spoke louder when the facts had detonated already. Earth will not retaliate with fleets, she said. Not yet. But under Accord Section 14G, we are authorized to respond through asymmetrical correction. The Molari delegate stirred. You invoke Persephone Protocol? I do, she said. Gasps followed. Even the warlike Aarthex showed restraint when Persephone was mentioned. Earth had never invoked it. Not once. But every species knew the clause, Earth's legal right to retaliate through non-military means, data warfare, economic paralysis, strategic sabotage, without drawing fleet response. The protocol wasn't war. It was ruin wrapped in law. Virex's illusion of calm cracked, just slightly. You'll isolate yourselves? Collapse your own trade. Kasha held his gaze. We're not isolating ourselves. We're cutting you out. Whispers turned into discussions. Delegates checked their feeds. Data was spreading, economic forecasts, intercepted transmissions, political heat maps. Earth had done their homework. The Velar had enemies. Many. Kasha had just opened the door and invited them in. You forget the galaxy doesn't revolve around your grief. Virex spat. Kasha's voice dropped low. No. But it will remember what happens when grief learns strategy. The Velar delegation stood to leave, but not before Virex made one final gesture, 2 fingers to his temple, the signal of psychic pressure. A warning. Or a threat. Kasha didn't flinch. Later, aboard her diplomatic cruiser Veritas, she activated her private comms. Proceed to Phase 2, she said. 3 words. No elaboration. Across 17 systems, Earth's Black Ops embedded cells received the ping. Dormant accounts awakened. Algorithms began to sabotage Velar logistics chains, AI contract denials, hyperlane recalibrations, banking blackouts. Entire colonies found themselves without supplies or data access. Piracy surged in Velar corridors, encouraged silently through Earth's non-attributable networks. Kasha didn't watch the chaos. She sat alone, reading her late husband's final expedition notes. Sol had believed in coexistence. Kasha had too once. But there was no peace without price. No unity without blood. When her aide knocked, she didn't speak, just gestured to enter. Ma'am, he said. 27 minor delegations have signaled support. The Kthel wish to offer safe harbor for a sanctions network. The Aothex propose a joint strike on Velar shadow ports. Even the Nero offered mining rights to Earth in protest of the attack. Kasha nodded slowly. And the Velar? He hesitated. They've demanded your removal from the Concordium. They've labeled you a rogue agent and declared your use of Persephone unlawful. Expected, she said. They also issued a private transmission. Encrypted. 1 word. She raised a brow. Widow. Kasha stared at the wall for several seconds. Then spoke quietly. Reply. To what? Her eyes didn't waver. Send them a single phrase. You're right. And that's why I'm not here to forgive. He left without another word. By the next cycle, 3 more Velar resource worlds reported labor revolts. A convoy transporting rare psychic amplifiers vanished in an untraceable detour. Markets jittered. Media spun. The Empire screamed foul. But Kasha remained unmoved. They had called her a diplomat. But grief had made her something else. Something the Empire didn't believe existed. A Terran strategist who didn't bluff. And wouldn't stop until they begged for the peace they shattered. The Velar Empire underestimated the silence between Kasha Rain's words. They thought the absence of Terran warships meant compliance. They mistook her precision for hesitation. What they didn't understand, what no one in that Golden Council chamber grasped, was that humans only look quiet when they're busy setting the charges. The Ghost Division received the go order without fanfare. There was no broadcast. No speech. Just a shift in the algorithm, a line of code in an old satellite relay. 72 human operatives across Velar space blinked, stood up, and began executing the plan. Kasha reviewed the first update while sipping water. A Velar fuel refinery on Raxador 5 reported a cascade failure. No explosions. Just valves jammed and systems reversed. The planet's primary energy grid buckled under the pressure, leaving 2 million Velar citizens in darkness. Engineers couldn't trace the error. That was the point. Another ping. Velar transport lanes along the eastern trade spine were misaligned. Starships jumped to the wrong coordinates. No casualties, But delays, confusion, traffic gridlock across 4 sectors. Civilian frustration spread faster than the Empire's lies could explain it. She forwarded the incidents to neutral council delegates with a simple label. Pattern recognition. 2 hours later, Earth's Economic Council enacted silent boycotts. Resource prices surged. Medical imports slowed. The Velar currency, which hadn't dipped in 3 centuries, fell 3% in a single Terran day. Kasha walked into the council chamber, as if nothing had changed. Virex greeted her with a smirk. Playing with markets now? Is this Earth's idea of warfare? Correction, she said. It's your punishment. This is Earth's idea of discipline. He leaned closer, tone sharp. You think soft power frightens us? You think we will yield to pressure and spreadsheets? No, Kasha replied. I think you'll break under the weight of your own arrogance. The chamber grew quiet. She placed the device on the table. With a soft chirp, it projected a map of Velar-controlled territory. System by system, red dots pulsed. Each one marked a disruption: communications blackouts, port seizures, drone sabotage, market crashes. These aren't attacks, she said. These are consequences. An Aarthex warrior rose. You mean to tell us you've done this? Without weapons? Without fleets? Kasha didn't answer him. She looked at Virex. The Velar Chancellor's face tightened. He could feel the grip tightening, but still refused to acknowledge the pain. He had grown in a world of control, where empire was inherited, not earned. He had never learned what it meant to fight invisible wars. Your strategy is nothing, he spat. Random pain. No direction. No goals. You can't destabilize an empire this way. Kasha slid a second data drive across the table. Open it. The Velar aide retrieved it reluctantly. A hologram bloomed, intercepted Velar communications, internal briefings, and troop redeployments. Every vulnerable artery, every supply node, already predicted and exploited. We didn't destabilize you by chance, she said. We've known your weak points for years. Your empire is built on maintenance, not strength. That's what you never understood about humanity. You thought peace made us soft. It made us precise. Another ping. Velar scientists in the room suddenly looked to their devices, confusion dawning. Kasha's voice dropped to a whisper. We're not trying to collapse your empire. Not yet. We're trying to show the galaxy what it looks like when it fails. The Sirek ambassador, once a firm Velar ally, stood. What does Earth want, Ambassador Rain? Accountability. And surrender. The chambers shook with stunned reactions. Not metaphorical, a tremor, slight but felt. Virex laughed bitterly. You expect us to kneel because your traitors can stir panic? No, she said. I expect you to kneel because your own people will. Across the Velar-controlled systems, an undercurrent had started. Worker strikes, disobedience, quiet rebellion. Earth hadn't led it. Earth had only whispered the truth and stepped back. And it was enough. You should know, Virex said coldly. Your actions have consequences. You think the galaxy will tolerate this? What you're doing, this isn't diplomacy. She leaned forward, tone sharp as glass. No. It's justice disguised as diplomacy. And you gave us the mask. He stood suddenly. The entire Velar delegation followed. The formal exit. Before he left, Virex turned to her and hissed. Earth will regret this. Kasha nodded once. Make us. Back aboard the Veritas, her aide awaited in silence. He didn't speak until she gave a nod. Phase 3? He asked. Wait, she replied. He frowned. You're not going to escalate? She walked to the viewport, arms crossed. The stars outside blinked like nerves under skin. They're not scared yet, she said. Not enough. He waited for more, but there was nothing else to say. A few hours later, Kasha received a personal encrypted message. Not from Earth. From a Velar civilian. A low-ranking clerk. 4 words only. We are rising too. Kasia smiled for the first time in weeks. Not for revenge. Not for victory. But because something ancient and dangerous had woken in the galaxy. It wasn't Earth. It was truth. And the Empire had never learned how to kill that. The Velar Chancellor ordered the strike at dawn. It wasn't a fleet or a weapon, nothing so crude. It was a psychic cascade pulse, engineered to shatter Terran cognition by disrupting neural patterns through subspace resonance. It had been tested before on weaker species. It always worked. Minds melted. Resistance dissolved. Empires folded without lifting a finger. But this time, nothing happened. Kasia stood in the Concordium Hall, arms folded, as Velar Psi agents around her convulsed, their eyes wide with confusion. The pulse had launched. The frequencies had struck. And yet Earth's representatives didn't even blink. Some hadn't even noticed. Virex stared across the chamber at her, face paling. Impossible, he whispered. Kasia stepped forward. That's the problem with your empire, Chancellor. You keep assuming everyone is built like you. He snapped his fingers. A psychic guard moved toward her, then stumbled, clutching his skull as blood streamed from his nose. The cascade had rebounded, uncontrollable, infecting their own. Velar officers collapsed across 3 systems, reports flooding into their central net, seizures, coma, burnout. She watched him closely. Your superweapon hit the wrong target. Terrans aren't psionically connected. We don't speak in thoughts. We scream in action. You've broken the rules of engagement, Virex said through clenched teeth. You broke peace with a war crime, she said calmly. This is consequence, not war. He tried to speak, but the chamber exploded in noise, delegates shouting, scrambling for intel. The Nero envoy slammed his fist against the bench. The Velar attempted psychic warfare in a neutral chamber, he declared. That's not a diplomatic incident. That's assault. The council chair pounded his staff. Order! Kasia raised her voice above the chaos. You all just witnessed the truth. The Velar have never honored peace. Only power. But today, that power collapsed under the weight of one assumption, that humans could be broken like glass. She turned toward the main projection screen, activated a feed. It showed Velar's neural command center, empty, lights blinking uselessly, chairs overturned. Another feed, medical ships rerouted, Velar border patrols stalled, psychic hubs locked down under Protocol Black. The Velar hadn't just failed. They had paralyzed themselves. Kasia kept her tone level. The cascade pulse did more than fail. It fractured your psychic infrastructure. You fired a weapon at a species immune to it, and the recoil shattered your own mind net. Your strength turned against you. Virex's voice cracked. You planned this. She didn't smile. I knew you would try something. I didn't have to know when. I only had to wait. Delegates leaned forward. The chamber had become a courtroom. The Sirek minister stood. This confirms a violation of the Veiltor Accords under Section 12. The Velar engaged in cognitive warfare against a protected delegation. Virex hissed. You will not censure me. You will not dictate terms to an empire. Kasia's voice dropped. I already have. He surged toward her. Force security drones locked on before he reached the center aisle. He halted, shoulders heaving, jaw shaking. I should have killed you when I had the chance. And now, she said, you'll watch your empire do it for me. Her words were prophecy. Across the empire, citizens had already begun to act. Dozens of Velar colonies had shut down internal network relays. Local governors were declaring autonomy. The absence of psychic control, once invisible, had become liberation. Velar soldiers, cut off from the hive link, questioned orders. Riots spread. Old debts were remembered. The stars lit up with resistance. Her aide stepped beside her and passed a data pad. She read silently. Then, for the first time, she looked directly at the council chair. Earth calls for a motion, she said. Effective immediately, the removal of the Velar Empire from the Concordium Council. All assets frozen. All treaties revoked. Let them stand alone. Virex shouted something incoherent. The chair didn't ask for a second. He simply turned to the chamber. All in favor? Hands, limbs, and tentacles lifted. All opposed? Silence. Motion passed. It was done. Kasia turned to leave. Virex screamed behind her. She didn't slow. As she walked out, a low-priority alert pinged on her neural HUD, a message from a name she hadn't seen in over a year. It wasn't her husband. It was from a scientist who had worked with him. A message queued before the Erebus attack. She opened it mid-step. A recording played. Kasia, the voice said. I think I finally understand what Soul meant. He always said the Velar weren't scared of humans. They were scared of what we might become once we stopped trying to impress them. The file ended. She closed her eyes, just for a breath. Virex had tried to crush her with memory, with psychic warfare, with empire. He forgot Earth's worst trait. It adapts. And now, every species watching knew, Earth wasn't the youngest voice in the galaxy anymore. It was the one echoing loudest. The message from Earth's Security Council was short and final. Do not initiate full strike. Await the fall. Kasia Rain read it twice, then deleted it. She understood. Earth had already won. The Velar Empire was collapsing from the inside, systems failing, colonies fragmenting, the psychic core that held it together now fractured and silent. But understanding wasn't enough. Some debts needed collecting in person. She returned to Vaeltor for the last time, not in delegation robes, but in a matte black diplomatic field uniform. No entourage. No guards. Just her, walking the marble path toward a chamber now half empty. Delegates who once stood when the Velar arrived now sat with arms crossed. The Empire's banners had been removed, their seat unlit. Virex was there. Not on the floor, but in the observation ring, isolated, stripped of immunity. He was thinner now. Still dangerous, still dressed in ceremonial crimson. But his posture had changed. It wasn't regal. It was defensive. You got what you wanted, he said the moment she approached. The Council turned on us. Our allies defected. You made the galaxy afraid of Earth. I didn't make them afraid, she said. You made them ashamed to be loyal to you. You think this ends here? Your people will rule nothing. You've exposed yourselves. Humanity is a species that retaliates through sabotage, manipulation, and fear. Kasia stepped closer, lowering her voice. No, Chancellor. We retaliated with truth. You used fear as policy. We used it as evidence. He stood, trembling with controlled rage. You dismantled my empire with whispers and data. That's not war. That's poison. She nodded. We adapted to your game. We just played it better. You could have stopped. You had enough. But you kept going. You think I did this because I lost my husband? She asked. He didn't answer. I did it because you showed the galaxy how fragile peace really is. You executed a soft target colony. Lied about it. Then blamed the survivors for grieving too loudly. You want revenge. No, she said. Revenge would have ended with your death. I want history. I want your name remembered the way it should be, as the Chancellor who killed his own empire. He stepped forward, face inches from hers, eyes bloodshot. We will rebuild. Kasia stared back. Then make sure the foundation isn't built on corpses this time. She turned and walked away, leaving him alone beneath the silent dome. He called out after her, but the hall swallowed his words. She returned to her ship and activated the final message, prepared long ago, encrypted with her late husband's voice print. Soul's face appeared. Recorded weeks before his death. No preamble. Just him sitting at a lab bench, smiling that tired smile she knew too well. If you're watching this, then something's gone wrong, he said. I never thought I'd leave you a message like this. But I guess when you study unstable stars, you learn to prepare for the burn. Kasia blinked hard but said nothing. You were always the sharp one. I saw things in numbers, equations. You saw through people. You knew the moment the Veeler signed that treaty it was temporary. And you were right. They never wanted peace. They wanted pause. He looked down, then back up. So if you've gone full ghost mode, I support you. I trust you. But please, Kasha, don't just win. Change something. Show them why humans don't just survive. Show them why we reshape the stars we walk under. The recording ended. She sat alone, processing it in silence. A notification pinged, urgent message from the Molari diplomatic branch. Confirming passage of Amendment 509. Earth granted permanent defense autonomy and advisory status. Veeler territories under provisional oversight. Ambassador Rain invited to draft the new interstellar accord. She acknowledged receipt and leaned back. The war was over. The galaxy was rewriting its future. Not because Earth had superior weapons. Not because humanity was stronger. Because Kasha Rain had reminded everyone what humans do best when cornered: adapt, calculate, and burn down the lie. A broadcast started from Veiltor's Council Center. The chair read the revised terms aloud. All species present, under mutual consensus, hereby denounce the Veeler Empire's violations and revoke their claim to leadership under the Interstellar Accord. Effective immediately. Reporters and dignitaries began relaying the decision across the galaxy. On dozens of systems, former Veeler subjects erupted into cheers. Some wept. Some saluted Earth's flag in gratitude. Others simply stood tall for the first time in generations. But Earth didn't celebrate. Not publicly. Kasha returned not to Earth, but to Erebus 9, or what was left of it. The site had been cleared of ash and debris. Now, a single obsidian slab stood in the center of the crater. Names engraved in silence. She approached it with slow, deliberate steps. Set down the last data crystal beside the memorial. Sol's name was first. A young girl from the reconstruction crew approached quietly. Are you her? Kasha looked at her. Depends on who she is. The one who ended them, the girl said. Kasha considered it. No. I'm the one who proved we never needed them. She turned to the dark sky overhead. No ships. No banners. Just stars. Stars that belonged to no one now. Earth hadn't taken control of the galaxy. It had shattered the illusion that control ever mattered. And in the quiet that followed, humanity wasn't feared. It was respected. Finally.